writing a paper on it. His professor's disagreeing with him on that, which is I think is part of what the problem is these days. So, fantastic observation from the listener.
Very good. Thank you very much for the call. Next up, let's go to our East of the Rockies line. You're on Coast to Coast with us. Hi there.
I'm quite prepared to admit that in particular cases, the radiometric dating methods can be wrong. But for me, here's how I operate. You have to have some kind of framework for discussion. So what I say to these scientists is this. I say, by methods that you consider reliable, these strata are considered to be 10 million years old, for example. How do you explain the presence in them of these human bones and artifacts or footprints? It's a problem for them. Either they have to admit that all of their dating methods are wrong, or they have to admit their theory of evolution is wrong. So either way, I win.
I hear you on that one. And earlier, this is going off of the reason.
And I just like to say, I have a lot of my friends who are young Earth creationists. I tell them, well, look, whether we believe the Earth is a few thousand years old or a few billion years old, humans have been around since the beginning, and then we'll just have to disagree about the age of the Earth later on, But the main thing is the evidence contradicts the theory of evolution.
Great. Hey, thanks for your call. Let's go next to our wild card line. You're on Coast to Coast. It's your turn. Hi there.
Hey, my name is Greg. I'm a truck driver driving up through Indiana. I had a question on whether Mike has had ever found any synthetics in some of the ancient strata relating to some information I've come across through John Anthony West, Greg Braden, Melchizedek. They describe a situation whereas for any synthetics to exist in a three-dimensional world, there has to be a mental blueprint for it in the mass consciousness of mankind to exist, and that through a process where the Earth irregularly shuts down its rotation, the Earth's magnetic field would collapse, and the integrity of this mental blueprint for a three-dimensional expression to exist relies on the integrity of the Earth's magnetic field having an integrity. And when that magnetic field collapses, what automatically happens is any synthetics that would exist from a high culture before automatically just dissolves. There's just, and I'm just wondering if you've ever found any synthetics in the ancient strata.
I'm not aware of any reports right now that such have been found. Most of the artifacts that I found reported in the scientific literature are either of like gold, which is a metal with which we're familiar, or stone. Perhaps there are cases where, synthetic materials, I guess you're talking about things that aren't natural, that are manufactured, human manufactured, right, like plastics and very strange alloys and things like that. So they may be there, but I don't have any reports of them that I could give right now. Of course, sometimes in these, the Roswell case, the UFO case, they've got some strange synthetics that were found there, but those aren't ancient, very ancient. So my short answer to your question is no, and it is a fact that the Earth's magnetic field does shift. It reverses its polarity, from time to time, and
it's happening now, I think.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the ways that strata and the layers of the Earth can be dated, because you can detect the shifts in the polarity of magnetic particles in the layers of the Earth. So that's one way that they can date stratas, by the polarity of the magnetic particles in those layers.
Hey, Michael, how come you never went on a hunt for Noah's Ark?
Actually, I've been very close to Erzurum, where Mount Ararat is. Mm-hmm. but I was kind of in a hurry to get to India, so I didn't stop and go up the mountain. But I have seen Mount Ararat, and I have seen the television programs, some of the documentaries that have dealt with that topic, and I think it's really fascinating.
Yeah, well, if anybody finds it, I think it'll be you. So stay with us. Michael Cremo, our guest, will be back with final phone calls on Coast to Coast AM. I'm George Norrie. And, Michael, so what kind of devolution will continue for us, do you think, on this planet?
Well, there's a few kinds. One is that the age that we're in, the Kali Yuga, is one of declining human values, as we're seeing. But just because it's raining, it doesn't mean you have to get wet. You can put up an umbrella or you can put up a little tent to shelter yourselves and as many people as you can. So I think we've all got choices to make in that regard. There's another way in which the devolution process can proceed, and that's through reincarnation. If we're trying to elevate our consciousness, we will ascend upward through the evolutionary process. However, if we degrade our consciousness, as we see many people doing, they will descend, they will devolve in the evolutionary process, going down to lower and lower species of life. And the other opportunity that we have is to just get out of the whole time cycle, reincarnation cycle, and get back to that level of pure consciousness or spirit. And that's an opportunity that we all have. I found something that works for me, that's come from the tradition that I've developed an interest in. I practice a kind of mantra meditation every day. It's the Hare Krishna mantra meditation. It works for me. But I would just encourage people to look deeply within their own tradition. I think if we look within any tradition, you're going to find some practice of yoga, prayer, and meditation that's meant to help us do that, evolve spiritually, go back to the original position of pure consciousness or spirit.
All right, let's go back to the phones now. Let's go to our East of the Rockies line first of all. You're on Coast to Coast. Hi there.
Hi, George. It's Gary, calling
Gary.
you from Chesterfield, Missouri.
Yes, sir. Hi there.
Twice in one night, much less 1 year. I'm doing something right. In fact, I can tell you where I'm at. I'm in Boone's Crossing. You know where that's
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I was going to let you know very quick before I gave you a question. I walked into work last night, and the first thing one of my friends asked me was, that was you on Coast to Coast, wasn't it?
Said, small world, isn't it?
And they said, George knows you? And I said, now you know why my phone keeps breaking the dial button. You know, Mr. Cremo, for your guest, I don't know if it's Dr. Cremo or Mr. Cremo.
Well, there is a doctorate.
Okay.
So we'll call him Dr. Cremo, Gary.
Well, I don't use it I prefer to be called just Michael, but
okay.
If you're
asking. Michael, my question about it for you is, could you elaborate a little more on a mystery I've read about? I believe it was in places like Puerto Rico and I think Honduras, where they were finding large stone or iron spears that weighed anywhere from several hundred pounds to several thousand pounds. And they were digging these up, and they carbon dated them, found out they were thousands of years old, and the civilizations that were there at that time apparently did not have the apparent means to make these. And thank you for your time on the question. I'll listen to you off the air.
Okay,
on the air.
Sure thing.
Well, it's another case where I learned something every day from the listeners. One of the listeners earlier told me about a case I'd never heard of before, and this one is a little bit new for me, too. My main area of research is evidence for extreme human antiquity. That means evidence that humans have existed for more than the 100,000 or 200,000 years that scientists now think possible. It's a new case, so I really can't say anything about it. For me, it's some new information, and I thank the listener for it.
I'd like Michael to talk a little bit about 6 years ago, I was in the right place at the right time. I come from a tribal community up here based around St. Helens, and I had done a lot of volunteer work on dam relicensing and really sitting with a lot of the old people in our tribe and just really had a